thanks for coming along this morning. A little bit about us. My name's Elise. I am the chapter host of Creative Mornings Wellington. With me this morning, we've got Britt and Lou, and they are my co-hosts. We are really excited to have you all here with us. This has been like a huge journey for us over the last 6 months, and we wouldn't have been able to do it without... There we go. Our great volunteer team who have been here this morning, who got you checked in, got your coffee brewed, and lots of sponsors and friends in the room who have also helped us get here. So thank you to you all.
We'd like to thank Antipodes Water, who is going to be sponsoring us for all of our mornings during this year and next, and Supreme Coffee, who's keeping you awake this morning. We'd also like to thank Wrestler for our venue, which is absolutely amazing. Just add that in there. And to Trade Me, pardon? And videography, sorry. And to Trade Me, who has sponsored our breakfast this morning, which is awesome. Oh, and Wakefields as well. They've done all our printing for us, which is a huge hand as well.
So for those of you who don't know, I don't know how many of you do actually know or don't know about Creative Mornings globally, but there's 152 chapters in 152 different cities in the world across 58 countries. So it's pretty exciting to be a part of that massive community. It's not just little old Wellington and Auckland as well. And also there's 3,500 talks online that you guys can all access now that you're registered. So get amongst that as well, because it's pretty inspiring stuff. It's pretty cool.
So as you might know, every month there is a global theme for Creative Mornings. And this month we're talking about transparency, which was chosen by our Cincinnati chapter. So I would like to invite Nick and Nevada from Okiwa to share their story with us this morning.
I'll go on that side. Hello, thank you all for coming along. So as they mentioned, I'm Nick and this is Nevada. So we founded Okiwa about 2 years ago. We started our brand making urban rainwear, and this morning we just want to share a little bit about our story, but in the spirit of transparency, we want to be really open and upfront. We seem to do a lot more kind of faking it than making it as we go along, so we're certainly not going to stand here and fake it, and this isn't a real story about our making it. We've got a long road ahead of us, really. To be honest, we kind of felt a little bit, it was a bit of a challenge for us to feel like we can stand here and really tell our story in front of such an amazing creative community here in Wellington, so just kind of bear with us as we go along, I guess. We're just 2 years in. They've been 2 part-time years for both Nevada and I, but we do have that long road ahead, but we're certainly getting there.
Okay. So I just want you to think of the word raincoat. People's associations with the word raincoat can often present us with a challenging starting point. What does this word conjure up for you? So for some people, it's a frustration or a bitterness at the rain. But if you think of the word swimwear makes you think of, holiday destinations and fun summertime. So connotations are already positive in your mind when you go out to purchase this product. Likewise, lingerie, you think of intimacy and connection. So starting a fashion brand focused on rainwear is a little tricky. It's that item of clothing that no one really wants to have to need. But we definitely want to change this, and we want to make it a bit more of an exciting subcategory in your wardrobe. It's also interesting to note that a raincoat is one of the few wardrobe items that doesn't hang in the wardrobe. So we tend to hang it by the door, and we think that's kind of interesting. It's kind of like your shell you step into when you walk outside to face the weather. There is, of course, a utility to the raincoat that's quite unique to that item of clothing, and we really like the grounding and the purpose in that. So what started it for us was our lifestyle, which we now see as probably one of our most extreme use cases. We live in Oriental Bay, and transport is almost always on foot, as we don't own a car. So the idea began a few years ago when I was working at the other end of the waterfront. So it was a pretty much a 40-minute walk to work each morning. I knew the type of raincoat I wanted, just wasn't on the market. So I decided to see if I could give it a go myself. I'd studied fashion at Massey, so I kind of had a good enough idea of where to start. So over the next couple of months, I designed and pattern made a tight collection. We sourced our Japanese fabrics, and we found a manufacturer in Auckland. And after seeing Tim Brown's Wool Runners campaign, their Kickstarter campaign, which is now Allbirds, which I'm sure a couple of you might own a pair of Allbirds, we were inspired to pull together a campaign to raise money for what we needed.
Cool. So that Kickstarter went really well for us. That we sold $50,000 of pre-orders around New Zealand and around the world, which was a great start. This was our flat at the time of the dispatch, so it's like 36 square metres or so at the best of times, and we had probably 5 square metres of floor space to live in at that point. And since the Kickstarter, what have we been up to since? It kind of feels like getting these coats out the door from that run was the easy bit, and the work really kicked in afterwards as we needed to build the business in the longer term. We kind of think of this perfect storm that we're chasing in terms of our target market. So on top of the wild forces of PR and the kind of general fickleness of fashion that we have to struggle with, we are chasing really high rainfall. We need a target demographic with really high disposable incomes, really, that can meet our kind of price point. We're after an Akiwa appropriate lifestyle as we think of it, so people need to be able to be walking. If your commute looks more like this, then we're probably not on your sites. On top of that, we kind of need that perfect climate that's not so hot that you'll only ever wear like a plastic poncho in monsoon, or it's not so cold that you need like really hefty layers with woolen collars, in Russia or Northern Europe or something. So we need that perfect balance of climate. And then the bonus point for us, which we find in Wellington, is that there's wind and you're not actually like relying on an umbrella for your rain protection. So that's the kind of royal flush that we need, and that's although the core of our customer base. So what's exciting for us, I guess, is branching out with some different product lines that kind of explore some different areas of that.
Okay, so this leads us to our first thought around mindful product creation. So we subscribe to the ever-increasing model of classic products that remain in stock with new pieces added organically, rather than the 3 to 6 monthly hamster wheel of collections that get discounted at the end of each season. So we launched with some core pieces, and then late last year we introduced a few more in a darker palette and longer lengths, internal pockets, detachable hoods, things like that. Now there are several other brands that we look to who are doing this style of organic product release really beautifully, and we definitely see it as an increasingly more common approach. We see a lot of customers who are seeking product that's definitely not so trend-driven. So Building Block, an accessories brand that we really love, they started their brand as a reaction against fast fashion, and in their words, an exercise in editing the excess around us. So they are, quote, finding a balance between the fast play of fashion and the process of creating something that has longevity. Likewise, Everlane, a San Francisco-based online-only brand, is also adhering to these principles, and they offer quality basics on a seasonless approach. So to them, a narrative of product quality, ethics around provenance, and pricing transparency is opted for over constant newness. Fight, a beautiful footwear brand we also love, they explore what they're calling neo-luxury. It's a high price point, extreme care and craft scale making, limited numbers, and ethically and environmentally conscious production. They began as an evolution of consumerism and production. They were moving away from volume and excess and more towards quality, sustainability, and the pursuit of product integrity. Their shoes are made entirely by hand from natural materials. So each shoe is made from one piece of leather, and we love that once they've reached their lifespan, they biodegrade naturally since they're all made of natural materials. So thinking about mindful product creation, we've got our next few steps in the works. So here's a camel colourway that we're quite excited about, and there are also a couple of new samples that we've got hanging at the front as well.
Cool. So once you've kind of got that product mindfully made, I guess we then turn to how we get that to people. So our question for that is really, what could a modern distribution system look like? We're certainly in changing times, and so by 2025, it's estimated that like 20 to 30% of all retail is going to be done online. Everlane's founder, Michael Priesman, started his company on the premise that he thought the fashion's retail scene was broken, and e-commerce presented an opportunity to go direct to consumer and fix that. They kind of take this further with what they call radical transparency. So every product listed breaks down the full costs. So this is their Chelsea boot. It's got $45 of materials, $34 of labour, $4 of duties, $2 of transport, which comes to $85. And by cutting out that middleman, as they call it, they come to a retail price with Everlane of $235 instead of the $425 traditional retail model. So our thoughts on that are like that distribution logic makes perfect sense. And although it's not easy to replicate that when you're bootstrapping your business from very small scale beginnings, skipping retailing partners and even your own bricks and mortar stores obviously misses so many of those benefits that come with it, like the exposure and incremental growth that those accounts can bring. Everlane is VC funded as well, so they started in this super aggressive kind of growth mode, which kind of supports the model well. But for a sense of our operation, this is us at home. We're making coats in runs of like 20 to 30 at a time. So it's obviously a completely different kind of cost structure that we're working to, and really a different model. The Everlane model totally seduced us at the start, though. I won't lie, we kind of thought that was the future and the way to go, but we've sort of quickly met with its limitations.
So for us, getting underway necessitated crowdfunding. So we ran a Kickstarter campaign. And over the 2 years since that campaign, we found we needed a physical space to widen our reach and allow people to try on. So we've been supplementing online with physical pop-up stores. We've been finding these pop-ups a great way to experiment with bricks and mortar in a low-cost, low-commitment way. Pop-ups build brand footprint and is a great way to activate a certain city. We could tour it, we could collaborate with local artists, tell a locally relevant story. We worked with Max Pate on our inaugural site, so that was a really nice way to share that kind of founding waterfront story that got us underway. We also tried Lambton Quay for our second site earlier this year, and we asked a friend of ours, Hannah Warren, who paints some really beautifully kind of haunting portraiture, to bring our mannequins to life. So that was fun to watch people's reactions as they walked past the window. So this kind of hybrid approach also sees us turn some attention to wholesale. So we launched with our first stockist at the shelter in Auckland this winter. That all said, we still see direct online at the core of our strategy. And one way we're getting around the price point barrier is a home try-on program. So we take credit card information down and we send out 2 or 3 pieces to a home or a work address to try on with no obligation to buy and return shipping, free return shipping. This has been going really well around New Zealand, and we've seen about 80% of people trying on at home have ended up purchasing, whereas beforehand they probably wouldn't have committed to putting that money down first, so that's really great. And our theory is we just have to embrace returns. So if someone in store returns a garment to the rack after they've tried it on, that's not an issue, so shouldn't really be an issue online either. So you can see we're definitely going for something of a hybrid. The physical pop-ups have been a great tool for brand expression, and strategic wholesale has been important as a trusted channel to reach our people at our price point, and direct online just makes sense. So the mix is definitely starting to come together. The rulebook for distribution is definitely out, and it doesn't really make it easy, but it's kind of an exciting time to explore different approaches.
So just changing tack slightly now, this Creative Mornings theme, as was mentioned, is transparency, and we make clothes. So the most pressing issue for us in fashion, we think, around transparency is the social and environmental impact of our industry. We have to go there. It's colossal. Fashion and textiles are the second most polluting industry in the world, second only to oil. We could run through some really tragic issues around the Rana Plaza collapse in Bangladesh, where 1,129 people lost their lives tragically. But instead we thought we'd go through a few examples we think of positive change that are making a difference. Worn Wear is a program by Patagonia. They do some amazing work around environmental advocacy. We love the realism of their "do less harm" mantra. You know, it's acknowledging that harm is done, can be done. Worn Wear is the program of theirs where they tour around the US and repair people's clothing, and they accept returns online to repair as well. If it's from general wear and tear, they do that free of charge. They also have a resource on their website called Footprint Chronicles, where they actually plot out all of their factories and their mills and farms, and have a bunch of other resources around, like looking after animal welfare from their wool programs and cotton and things. They, Nudie Jeans as well, offer show where they're making, what they're making where, including like downloadable factory audit summaries. And Icebreaker's barcode program was really cool as well. We could look up the source station that your garment came from. They've actually recently retired that, which we thought was a shame, and we just asked them what that was about. I think they found that usage has dropped off as people were trusting their brand more, and they're kind of looking for new ways to give people that transparency that they still think is really important. A dot on the map obviously doesn't save the world, but at least it shows that a brand is taking its sourcing seriously, and it gives you as a consumer, like a way of digging into it a little bit. And for the record, we are made here in Christchurch. We've always been made in New Zealand. We started in Auckland. These are some shots from our Auckland production partner. Made in New Zealand is great in that we just kind of know that our partners are working to things like New Zealand's labour laws and great things like that just give us some peace of mind.
So Vivienne Westwood famously speaks about buying fewer clothes. She says, buy less, choose well, make it last, everybody's buying far too many clothes. This is definitely something that I'm so on board with. I definitely believe in buying less clothing but having them of a higher quality. Usually when I purchase something, I try to ask myself if I'll be wearing this in 10, 20 or 30 years' time. And with Okiwa, we also believe in creating quality pieces that will be with you a long time. So along similar lines, we love the ironic ad that Patagonia put out for Black Friday in the New York Times. They literally just advertised for people not to buy the jacket, and it was just a really simple message of thinking consciously about your consumption. So where to for us? That crazy equation that we talked about earlier is pointing us to 3 interesting regions of the world for our international growth. The Pacific Northwest, Northern Europe, and parts of Asia. So we're actually off to Asia tomorrow for 4 weeks to explore what's going on with rainwear in Japan and Taiwan.
And while we're here, there are a few people we owe an enormous thanks to for working with us so far. Everything we've done has been a massive team effort. Di Clapperton, who's here this morning, designed our visual identity and everything since, and she's an absolute star. Richard Ban is responsible for most of our photography work, including this shot we worked on with him. Some of the quality's not there, but Sidell's in front of an old Citroen Model DS, and we rained all this fake rain down on her, and it was a lot of fun. He's been responsible for most of the shots we've seen through the presentation. So thank you so much to those two and everyone else who's helped us along the way. And thanks all for coming along this morning.
Great. We've got some prizes here. Thank you very much, guys, for 2 best questions. Who's got questions for Okiwa? Anybody? Come on. Yes, you there.
Thanks, guys. That was good. I guess I know some of the story already. So if I should perhaps know the answer to this question, but if I was to go on your website, what could I find about Okiwa that tells me that you're trying to do less harm, as an example? What can I find about the way you make or the fabrics you use or things like that?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I think there's probably some big holes there from us in terms of how we're communicating that. Like, we do mention on a About Us page that we're made in New Zealand, and we source from Blue Sign approved mills. We blogged earlier this year about just a few of our thoughts during a week of advocacy around the Rana Plaza tragedy. But yeah, I think in general we could do so much more. Like Patagonias and the Nudies and stuff do great online resourcing, and like we'd love to have that kind of thing. Yeah, there's a lot more we could do. We're probably a bit minimal on that front in common terms. Yeah. Yeah.
As you scale internationally, are you planning to keep manufacturing here in New Zealand?
Yeah, good question. For now, like we love, it's perfect for us, and it's the way we have to do it on the scale operation we have. But I think going forward, like we're not absolutely wedded to that in a really kind of idealistic way or anything. I think we don't rule out that production can only be good if it's done in New Zealand. I think as long as we're conscious about it and communicate it really well and take great care in forging those partnerships and things, we wouldn't be ruling out being made offshore. Yeah.
So this isn't what I think, this is what I think of you. But do you worry that your openness and clarity about being eco-friendly and low carbon footprint and everything could be seen as a marketing style? As opposed to doing it for the sake of being friendly to the environment, people could be doing it to make sales.
Yeah, totally. There's so much greenwash out there, right? Like people just totally faking it. Yeah, totally. That's we only would do it in an authentic way, and I think we'd always need to make sure our messaging was 100% authentic. And you weren't just trusting us; you could see those downloadable audit summaries or that kind of thing. But yeah, you definitely got to watch out for greenwash. If anyone sees us greenwashing, please let us know. So, yeah.
What's been your biggest challenge so far?
Good question. Do you have any thoughts?
I think distribution, so how to get it out there. So if you're online, people have got to find you and come to you. So I guess getting wholesale partnerships and thinking about the pop-ups and how we can do things at a small scale. That's definitely been distribution and scale, I think. Yeah.
You mentioned briefly about sourcing materials from Japan. Was there something that sets it apart from other brands out there, and what's particularly special about it?
Yeah, so they're a technical two-layer fabric that we use, and Japan just is one of the countries that just does it best. There's also a lot of mills in Taiwan that we are sourcing some new stuff from at the moment. So it's more just a matter of going to the mills that are making the product up to the spec that we need. So it's sort of similar technology to Gore-Tex, which everyone knows about. So it's that breathable membrane technology, and it's more just that Japan has the mills and the technology that we needed. Yeah.
Like a last question, you can pick that one more.
Yeah.
So you guys have very strong ethical values and know a lot about what's wrong in the industry. Do you see yourself in a specific role to change the industry and to inspire other manufacturers to do things differently?
Yeah, I guess we're so far from being at a scale where we'd ever become a really credible source of change. But totally, we want to do it right and not be having negative impacts, in the world socially or environmentally in what we're doing. I think so much of it comes from the consumer base and people starting to ask questions about their sourcing. We kind of mentioned, free range egg certification is so huge in supermarkets. You can kind of know the backstory behind your product. Antipodes and Supreme are amazing, have amazing origin stories about their products. We seem to do it really well in food and beverage, but more needs to happen kind of in the fashion space. And I think so much of that could come from consumers if we ask more questions about, can you tell me where this garment's made and anything about the fabric and that sort of thing. Yeah, we're a long way from kind of becoming an authority on it though, that's for sure.
Great,
Yeah.
really good questions. Thank you guys.
Cool.
I've also got a little thing down here. You're almost about to sit on it. This is a thank you bag from some of our amazing sponsors. I don't have enough hands to shake your hand at the same time. There we go. Thank you guys so much. Thank you.
Cheers.
Yes, big thanks. And 2 best questions. This one here, if you want to come see me after, and the one about challenges from over there. We've got some threaded magazines from BNF Paper, which have been kindly donated, so come say hi. And some more sponsors to thank who have contributed in lots of different ways to making today as great as it has been. So thank you to all these amazing people here. And one last thing before you all get off for the morning, we need to take a launch photo. So some volunteers have some things that we need some people to hold, and we need some lights, and I need a photographer, please, and I need you to all stand up and look excited. Just stand where you are and dish some of these out.